Let's see. Hi, everyone. Hi. Super nice that so many people have joined. So, everyone, please welcome to this basic open webinar. We had an advanced one, the first one where we invited all of the different universities and schools that we have, which was super fun, and we got a lot of good feedback. So I'm very excited to have this second webinar together with you, which is more of the basic one. And yeah, looking at this word cloud, we can see that there's a lot of different schools represented, which is super fun. And it's always nice for me working as a customer success manager to see some of my own schools that I work with. So that is very fun as well. But it's 4 o'clock and we have 1 hour in front of us. So I think that we can get started. Let's see. Good. So for this basic webinar, I will be introducing you to Mentimeter and give you some inspiration on how you can increase student engagement. And as I said, my name is Stina and I work as a customer success manager here from Mentimeter. If there are a few of you who are dropping in a little bit late, I will actually click on the keyboard letter I to show the instruction bar again. So you could easily take your smartphone and then you can scan the QR code. But you will also always find the Menti code at the top of my slide, so you could easily join as well. And I've seen that Austria has also put the link and the code in the chat as well, so you have it there as well. And nice, I can see that some of you have already started with the reactions that we have. But during this webinar, apart from being interactive and engaging with the questions that I have, you also have the opportunity to ask questions throughout this webinar. So if you have any question, please scroll down to the open Q&A button and type in the questions there. So if there's a question about the webinar and inspiration, please click on the Q&A. If there for any reason is some technical question, then you can use the chat that I have. And apart from that, we also have the comments. So if you click on this icon down here, you could also send me an instant message. So a comment is something that will be displayed just for a few seconds. Let's see, happy to be here. Exactly, so just like that. So a way for you to write something quickly, it will be shown really quickly and then it will be removed. Amazing. And this session will be recorded and also shared afterwards. So you will get an email directly afterwards. And I have introduced myself, but as I said, I also have my lovely colleague Astra here, and she works as a content marketing specialist here at Mentimeter.
Yes, hello everyone. I will be, throughout the webinar, when Stina will be presenting different question types and demoing Mentimeter, I will be sending links to, so you can explore more, kind of get a step-by-step guide in the live stream chat. So that is where you can find more useful information. You will also get the chat saved together with the recording. And if you have any technical issues, like maybe all of a sudden you can't hear or see Stina, then you can let me know in the live stream chat, and I'm sitting pretty close to her, so we will try to take care of everything. But yeah, happy to see so many of you here today.
Nice. Awesome, good, but it's super nice that a lot of you have found the comments, so I really like that. But yeah, let's get started. So late to the party. So the first thing I always do during these webinars, it's to get an understanding of who do I have here in the webinar. So how often have you used Mentimeter? So therefore, there is my first question. So have you used Mentimeter before? Is it many times. I'm basically a Mentimeter champion. I have used it before a few times. I have only voted, never presented, or this is my first time. And this is a great way for me, who is facilitating or presenting this training, to get a bit of an understanding of where your knowledge level is at, because then I can adapt throughout. And what this number down here indicates is that I have gotten 100 votes currently from you. And yeah, let's see who we have here today. So it seems like the majority of you, 46, have used it a few times. 35, I have only voted, never presented. A few of you are basically Mentimeter champions. So considering this is more of a basic webinar, I hope that you might learn something new, but it might be a good recap for you to start the semester instead. Of you, this is your very first time. So nice. But then, as I said, considering this is a basic one, I think we are at a good level for the majority here. There's always something to learn. That's right. Nice. Good. Let's move over to today's agenda. So I will start by just giving you a quick introduction to what Mentimeter is. Then I will move over to more of an inspiration section. So I will give you different ways of how you can increase student engagement using different type of questions. Then we will look behind the scene, because we want everyone to joins to leave here feeling comfortable in creating their own presentations. So we will check some settings and how you create a question. And also, as I mentioned, please feel free to send in your question throughout this webinar, and I will go through them. Let's go over to the power of Mentimeter. So what Mentimeter is. So Mentimeter is a platform for easily gathering input from a group, visualizing it clearly in real time, and save and share these insights for later. So this enables you as an educator to improve both learning outcomes and also increase student satisfaction. So what we want to help you with is to facilitate active learning by providing you a platform to ask different type of questions to gather the students' input, but also give them a very easy way for them to also ask questions throughout this, your lecture or your seminar. So they can also ask what questions they have about your content. We want to leverage student insights to maximize the teaching potential. So by posing different questions and gathering feedback, everyone in the room can see the full answers, so everyone's opinion, but also be able to identify different patterns based on this as well. And we want to equalize the opportunity to participate. So we want to give a very safe space for everyone to be heard, and therefore allow everyone to be given a voice and everyone to be heard. So that is a quick intro to what Mentimeter is. And what we have done is that we did a study together with a company where we had people listen to a presentation that was only in PowerPoint, so no interactive elements. And then we wanted to compare it to a presentation where we used Mentimeter to have these interactive and engaging elements. And what we found is that, for example, we had a 15% higher attention when using Mentimeter. And good for you as teachers and professors is that we had a 9% higher cognitive load, which means how much you are learning. And if you're interested in reading more about this study, it will be in the presentation that we will share with you after the webinar as well, so you can read more about that. Good, but then I think it's time to go into the inspiration part. So let's go through some different use cases. So the first question I have here today is, what entrepreneurial traits do you think are the most necessary? Let's see, is it self-belief, adaptability, rule breaking, or network abilities? And this question type is called the ranking question types. So as you can see, I've given you a few options to choose from. And once I'm starting to gather votes, you will see how Mentimeter is arranging them in the trait that you collectively think is the most necessary, and then going back to the least necessary about what you said. So ranking question type could be a great way for you to prioritize different things. This question, for example, could be a good alternative if you have, for example, an entrepreneurial class and you want to maybe use this type of question to then follow up with a discussion and maybe continue asking the students why they think that adaptability and self-belief is the most necessary traits, for example. Another way that you can use the ranking question type is to maybe gather feedback from your students. So one way you could utilize this as well is, let's say that this is a few weeks or 1 week before exam time, and you then add the different topics that you will have on the exam, and then you ask your students which one they feel least comfortable talking about or knowing about. So then you could easily let them rank the different topics, and then you know maybe how you can prepare for your next class when you can then go through that topic a little bit more. So you make sure that the students feel well prepared heading into the exam. So yeah, looking at your answers, we can see that adaptability, self-belief, network abilities, and rule breaking. That is the order that you think it's most necessary. Good. Let's move over to the next alternative that we have. Now it's time for a multiple choice question again. And with this one, I've also added the correct answer. But the question is, how can we know the slope at a point on a non-linear function? Draw a tangent line. So the question is, what is the slope of the function fx at the point Q? Is it -1? Is it 1, 2, or -2? So what I've done here as well is that you can combine a Mentimeter question, but also add an image to that slide as well. So great if you have, for example, more of a mathematics class together with your students. So then you can add an image and then you can add the question to it as well. So let's see. Now, when I've received around 70 votes, it feels like the alternative number 1 is a winner. But let's see, let's give it a little bit longer time before I show the correct answer. See, 55, 56, 80 answers. Good. And What you can see down here at the bottom is that it says press enter to show the correct answer. So considering I used a multiple choice, but then I added a correct answer, I will then click on enter to show the correct area, the correct answer to my question. So yes, 59 of you was indeed correct. So the slope of the function at Q is therefore 1. No zero about this. Yeah. It feels, considering we're now inviting the bigger, like a lot of different universities, can totally understand if there's different areas that you have your knowledge within. Good. So press enter to show the correct answer. And also if you want to remove it, you can just click enter again. Nice. Let's move over to the next question. So this is just a quick question that you could ask your students when it's time for the final exam. So this is a traffic light, and here I'm asking you, how are you feeling about the final exam? So just to give a quick pulse check on your students on how they are feeling. And it's a green, amber, red traffic light that I think we all are aware of. And the green example is I have it under control. I think I will pass, but I need some support. Or the red one, I don't think I will pass. And when it comes to these questions, I think it's a great way to start with just the traffic light and asking how they are feeling about the exam. But be sure then to follow up with a question, just so we can incorporate the answers that the students that feel that they won't pass, or I think I will pass it, but I need more support. So one idea could then be to either have an open conversation with your students to ask which topics or which areas are you feeling less comfortable with, or you could also follow up with an open-ended question type if you want your students to be able, in like free text or by themselves, express which areas they don't feel comfortable with, because maybe they don't feel confident sharing it in the whole class, for example. So traffic light is another way of how you can visualize a multiple choice question, but using this traffic light. And during the demo, I will also show you where you can find this, because you will find this specific slide type in our slide library that we have. Good. Nice. Then I think we can head over to the next question type that we have. And for this one, I will also start by pressing the keyboard letter H on my laptop. So when I do that, you will see down here that the results are hidden. So down here, I can see how many votes I'm getting. So I know that one of you have voted on this slide, but none of you will be able to see the answers until I press H again to show the results. And that is a great way for you if you want to assure that no students or participants are getting influenced by each other. So making sure that the students in the room are only answering the same thing to your question just because they saw what their friend answered, for example. So really making sure that you get an honest opinion. And the question that I have here is a scales question type. So it's an example of how you can do an evaluation for your students after a session. And the statements that I want you to give me feedback on is whether I felt well prepared coming into class, I felt safe to express myself, ask questions, get and give feedback, and I know where to go if I need more information about the subject. And I have a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. But you as a facilitator or the presenter in Mentimeter, you will be able to choose what you want to have on these axles, so here, and also how many statements you would like to have, and whether you want it to be maybe from 1 to 5 scale, or like a 7 or a 10 scale as well. And the scales question type is super good to use for evaluation, for feedback, for example, and really making sure that people, they don't only like answer a yes or no if they felt prepared coming into class, so they can really use a variety to answer that question for you. And this is an evaluation, this example. Another way I've seen this question type being used is that you also can start your, if you're going to have the start of the semester, for example, then you can ask your students how confident they feel in different topics, or like the areas that you will teach, just to get like a baseline of where they are, where they're at. And then later on during the semester, you can ask the same question again with the students, just to follow up on how their learning is increasing. And then you can also see if there's maybe one area which hasn't increased that much. So maybe you can spend a little bit more time on that one. Yeah, but let's see. Okay, I have gotten 87 votes. So that gives me an indication that I'm ready to share the result, just so I know that I've given you enough time to answer my question. So I will then click on the keyboard letter H. Good. So what Mentimeter will show you is the average score of all the answers combined. But if you take your cursor and you hover over the alternative, then you can also see how all the answers have been spread out as well, just to give you an indication of what 3.4 actually meant. So looking at I felt well prepared coming into class, we can see that majority gave a 3 or a 4, some a 5, but we also have some who didn't feel prepared coming into class. So this also gives an indication of how we can improve that, for example, for them. So yeah, scales question type, great for you if you want to gather feedback from your students and you want to allow them to answer on a scale instead of like a yes or no question. Good, but I can see down here that I have received 6 questions, so I will go through either 1 or 2 now and then save a few for later. So I will click here to pop up the question. Let's see. How do I add the image to the multiple choice slides? Great question. So I will click on escape twice or once to go back to the edit view. And let's go to the question that we have. So now I am on the question that we had. And here we have the content area. So this is where I create my question. Here at the bottom, this is where I can add an image to the question. And either you can add an image that you have yourself and just like upload it, or Mentimeter can also provide you with images or GIF that you can add. So once you've added the image, then you will go over to the design tab. And at the top here you will see the different layouts. So then you can choose which one you would like to have. So how would you like to have your question and then your image, and then choose the one that you feel is the most, it's the best for how you want to visualize it. So content, add image, design, and then design the slide. And then I will mark it as answered. Let's take one more before we go into the next question. So the example multiple choice question show the number of each responses. Can you show percentage figures rather than absolute numbers? Yes, you can do that. I will mark answer and then I will show you how it works. So I'm clicking escape once again. And then let's go down to this one again. And that you will go to the design tab once again. Here you have different ways of visualizing it, but then you could also see this one, which says show results in percentages. So this is where you will change it. And actually, when it comes to like larger, if you have a large seminar or like a large lecture, one tip would be to show it in percentages as well, because that might be easier for you to interpret how the students have responded. So then it's easier to know that 70% of you thought it was number one instead of the absolute. So super good question. Good. So now I have gone through a few different question types. But since we're so many people gathered here today from different universities, I also wanted to hear your opinion. So what do you think? So what is the biggest roadblock for achieving the ultimate level of student engagement? Let's see. And so, this is an open-ended question type. So that allows you to, in free text, be able to type in your answer and therefore express yourself in your way. So let's see what we have. We have self-confidence, we have the class size, distraction from social media, students not coming to class, needing to work within teaching parameters of large institutes. And I can see here how many responses I've gathered as well. And if I just scroll down to see some of the other answers as well. Lack of time preparing effective activity. We have online distance learning something, students not attending class, unmotivated students. Let's see. And if you as a facilitator would like to highlight any of the responses, you could then click on the answer and that will be highlighted to you. So no interaction, for example. And then I go back to all answer. And good to know, since now I'm getting like a lot of different answers and not having time to like go through them all. In Mentimeter, all the answers will be saved, so you can download the results afterwards. So if you're asking like this type of questions to students and they are typing in their answer and maybe are not feeling that their answers are being read out or you're not seeing what they wrote, you could always make sure they know that you will analyze the results afterwards and like group them and like identify patterns, for example. Let's see, lack of interest. Let's see this one. I tend to hear from same students in each session, whereas others are always quiet. Yeah, that I understand totally. Culture, languages difference, and time zones. Good. Thank you so much for sharing this. And as we said previously also, this presentation will be shared with you afterwards, so you can also see then what all the answers from the other participants shared. Thank you so much. But then, as a little extra surprise, because this is something that we have just recently launched at Mentimeter, is that when you use the open-ended question type, you now have the possibility to also vote on an answer. So that means that you can utilize Mentimeter for like brainstorming sessions. So then gathering input from your students. And then once you've done that, you can then press enter so they can start voting. I have seen this in a university where they use it for like case-based studies. So then they allow all the students to to share what the next steps they think would be to a specific case. Then when they can see all the students' responses, then they're supposed to vote on the thing that they think should be the next, like considering all the answers that they have. So I thought we could try this out. So I will click on enter to start voting. And that means that all of you have been allowed one vote that you can then click on. If there's any of the answers that you feel that, yeah, this is definitely the biggest roadblock, then give that one a vote. And what I will do then is press enter to show the voting. So then I can see that at the top, it will be the answers that have received the most votes, for example. So we have lack of interest, class size, and distractions, and then boring academics. No. So open-ended question type. Great if you want to gather input by free text. And then you now also have the possibility, if you want to add the vote as well. And I do believe you can have like 1, 2, or 3 votes, something like that. So you could also vote on several alternatives as well. Good. But then what we have done now is that we have gone through some of the inspiration and different question types. And now it's time to look behind the scenes. So it's time to have a quick demo. So what I did was that I clicked escape button twice, which then I went into what we call is the edit view. So on the left-hand side, you have the different slides that you have created. In the middle, you will see the slide that you're currently on. And on the right-hand side, this is where you will create either the content slide or the question slide that you have. So I will click on new slide to go through how you can create a question. And the first thing you do is that you select which one you would like to have. So either you choose from any of the popular question types. And as you can see, once you hover over the alternative, you can see how it's visualized. So Mentimeter can help you to like give an indication of which one you might think is preferable for your question. Scrolling further down, you have the quiz. You have content slides. So if you want to add the agenda or any information about your topic or maybe a video. And at the bottom, you also have some more advanced question types as well. And last but not least, you can see that there's a button saying add more. So if you click on that one, then you will head into the slide library. And that's where you can find the traffic light that I used. So slide library has a few content slides, but also a few question slides. And if you want to use any of those, you would need to hover over them, click add slide, and then they will automatically be added to your Mentimeter presentation as an option for you to choose. But they are not there as default, so you need to go in yourself and then add them over to your edit view. Good, but then I thought we could create a multiple choice question. So the first thing you would do is that you would create your question. So let's do, what is your favorite fruit? Already there. Super. Then you will pick your options. So we have apple, banana, pear. If you want to add one more, you can click there. Orange, for example. And if you would like to add any images to your options, you could simply click on this one. And as I mentioned, either you can upload it from your own computer, you could use a GIF, or search anything from our like Mentimeter GIF or image library. So what I will type is apple and then choose this one. And then save. Good. So then I've created my question in the content. As I showed you previously, if you want to add an image to your slide, you can add it here as well. And then I'm heading over to design. So if I were not to add an image here, I could also choose to visualize it in another way. So we have the bars, we have the donut, pie. The dots are one of my favorites that I really like. And here you choose if you want to show percentages. Here is what you change the layout. And then there's a few other like design things that you can do. Next thing you could also do is go to the interactivity. And this is where you can add if you want to have different reactions, for example, as well. And the reactions are also a great way for you if you just want to do like a quick pulse together with your students. So it could be you asking whether the pace is all right, like are you following along good, and then use the different reactions. Or some have found it very useful as well to use the question type as question mark as well. Because then if you are going through a topic which is quite difficult maybe, and a lot of your students is pressing the question mark, that gives an indication that you might need to stop there for a while and maybe ask them questions on what do they find difficult, or maybe go through it a little bit more, or like in the next session as well. So please start trying out the reactions as well. And if you want further inspiration, you could also import any of our templates as well. So click on the templates and just add them into the presentation. Moving on to the settings of the overall presentation. This is where you will choose the presentation pace. So in Mentimeter, you could either use it as a live presentation, as I am doing right now. That means presenter pace. So me as a presenter is the one dictating the pace. If you want to use Mentimeter for a survey or maybe a pre-work for your students, then you can choose audience pace. So that means that you can create your presentation, change it to audience pace, and send it out to your students, and they will be able to join your Menti, and in their own time, they can then answer the questions and go through the presentations themselves. So presenter pace, live presentation, and audience pace if you want to use it as a survey. There are a few more settings here, but the ones I would like to highlight is that you can change the language in a Mentimeter presentation for the participants. So I have chosen English, for example, but let's say that I am from Sweden. So let's say that I was going to have a class together with only Swedish students. Then I might prefer to change this to Swedish instead. So that means that when they join my Mentimeter presentation, they will see the language in Swedish, explaining the different buttons and so forth. And last but not least, which is great when you have students who might have a tendency to share not so very great words in the like word cloud or open-ended question type. So what you can do is then that you can activate a profanity filter. So you will select the different, like what type of language you would like to filter to have. And then Mentimeter will automatically remove any bad words from either the word cloud or the open-ended question type. So the ones in free text we will remove. Good. Next thing I wanted to go through is the share button. So when I click on share, it will direct me to the participation tab. So there are 3 ways on how you can join a Mentimeter presentation. It's either a voting code, a voting link, or the QR code. And good for you to know is that the voting code is great for you to use during a live session, as I am having right now. But after 2 days, as you can see, the voting code will then expire and a new voting code will be generated. So if you're going to use Mentimeter for a survey or a pre-work for your students, then always use the voting link or download the QR code and share, because those will always stay the same. So that will allow you to have several days or several weeks for your students to share their input to your Mentimeter presentation. So voting code, great for live, and then voting link and QR code, either live or if you want to use it for a survey. Next thing is the invite to edit. So in Mentimeter, you can collaborate with your colleagues on the Mentimeter presentation, and both of you can add slides, make changes, and also get the results afterwards. So when I prepared for this webinar, I invited Astra as well, so she could also have a look, check if there was anything missing or some spelling errors and so forth. So both of us could create this presentation together. So that is a great way if you are hosting a lecture together with a colleague, or maybe having actually like an internal staff meeting where a lot of, maybe all of you are going to share an update or share some topics themselves. So what you will do then is that you will simply type in the email address, click invite, and then Asha will get an email saying that you have been invited to collaborate on the presentation. Last but not least, after you have hosted a Mentimeter presentation, you might want to share the result together with the students. So then you will go to presentation sharing, and here you have the link to the live result. So you can then copy the link and send it over to them so they can have the presentation as well. Good. So before we go back to the presentation, I want to go through the two things we can see down here, up here. So once the presentation has started to receive votes, you will get this blue pop-up window saying either view the results or manage the result. So if you want to view the result, you will get directed to this page. So first, this is an overview of the Menti presentation. And in order for you to be able to analyze the result further, you could click on the, let's see, share this tab instead. Now you can see the correct one. Nice. Yeah, so this is an overview of it. And then you could either export the result in an Excel file, or you could also download it as a PDF as well. So that way you can really analyze the data afterwards. Let's do this and then, yes, share this tab instead. Good. Last but not least, if you go to manage result, in Mentimeter, you can reuse the same presentation several times. So let's say that I was going to have this basic webinar now, and then maybe a follow-up session, maybe before lunch this time, just to have different time zones. Then I could simply go to this presentation. I could reset the result for the entire presentation or for a specific slide, but then reset the result and then host this webinar again. And good to know is that all the data will still be saved. So when you export the result to an Excel file, you will have the different sessions in a separate tab. So you could always go back to the data and see how it maybe changes throughout the different sessions or webinars. Good. That was it for the demo behind the scene. So let's go back to the presentation. And one thing that is great, a very easy and efficient and fun way to evaluate learning is to have a quiz about that. So we will have a short quiz now and see how much you can remember. So to join a quiz, each and every one of you will get a emoji or like a person, and then also Mentimeter will give you a nickname for the quiz. But of course, you can also choose whatever name you would like to have when you do the quiz as well. But let's see. Okay, so we have 70 players ready. So let's give it a little bit longer to see if we can have more people to join. And I like that, yeah, someone has really found, yeah, the reaction. So that's super nice to see. 78 players, 79. Let's see if we can get 80. Yes, we have 82 players. So some people are afraid. Yeah, exactly. Might be a very hard quiz. No, let's see. So I will then press enter to start the quiz. Let's see. Which question type did I use when I asked about your university? Was it an open-ended, a word cloud, scales, or this or that? Let's see. Word cloud. Yes, that is correct. Let's go to the next question. 85, 86. Now we're more. That's awesome. Start. Let's see. What is correct about Mentimeter? Is it you can send a survey prior to or after a collaborate in a presentation, or you cannot download the results? Let's see. Nice. Exactly. So the two options at the start, so you can send a survey and you can collaborate, is correct. So in Mentimeter, when you create the quiz, you could choose whether you want more alternative to be the correct alternative, but you can only as a voter select one of them. And this quiz type that I have used is the select answer. So then I've been giving you options of which one you can choose. But yeah, a leaderboard first. That is always fun. Let's see. So it's very, very close, I would say. But okay, so currently Johanna is the fastest one, followed by Lala and Nata. And as I said, so previous one, I have done the select answer. But now for the next one, you need to type in your answer. So be prepared for that. So let's see, 82, 83, let's go. Which letter on my keyboard should I press if I want to hide the results? No! I hope no one saw the comment. Let's see. The correct answer is H, exactly. H for hide. So what you will then do is that I have selected what is the correct answer, so an H, so that will give points. And then if you scroll further down, if there were to be another answer that you feel like, okay, but this was, let's say, this was fairly close, like this one, for example, this was fairly close to the correct answer. So then you could click here as well, just to give them a correct answer as well. My phone was too slow. Yeah, that's also a good thing. When you create the quiz, you could add how long time the participants can have to answer. So maybe I should have increased it a little bit to give everyone a little bit more time. But correct answer is H. H to hide. Good. Then let's see who the winner is. Let's see. The timeliness is quite stressful, yeah. So yeah, nice job, Johanna. You are the winner of the quiz. Maybe increase time for typing if students have disabilities as affected. That is a very, very good thing actually to highlight. So for this typing, add a longer, I will also take that feedback with me to have a little bit longer time to type that in. Good. First time winner ever. But nice. Congratulations, Johanna. Great job. So we are reaching the end of the webinar. I have a few things I will cover, but then we will go into the Q&A. So what we want you to do is to go into the Q&A, look at the questions, and then if you feel there are some questions that you feel are really relevant, please give it a thumbs up so we can go through them. Yes, so as the last question I wanted to ask you is, what have you learned or will do differently as a result of attending this session? Let's see, try different question options, adding images, more forms of question, different type of questions. Oh, this is super nice. You have more confidence, so you will try other things. Maybe start using Mentimeter. I hope we can convince them maybe to just start using Mentimeter. Let's see. I'm more willing to integrate Mentimeter into my lessons since I know the options. That is super good. Yes, use the H for hide. Let's see. Explore using audience place option. Yes, that's super good. Let's see. I like this one. Just go and try. That's the best the best answer, I think. Just try it out, see how it works. And let's see. Use Mentimeter, the traffic light template. Nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Last but not least, there are a lot of resources more to help you, apart from joining these type of webinars. So let's say you wanted to create your first survey and you're not sure how to do it. Go to Help Center, help.mentimeter.com, and there you will have a lot of help articles helping you explain how you can do that. If you want more inspiration, you can go to the blog and read about how other universities using Mentimeter for their lectures. We also have even more templates in mentimeter.com/template. And if something is not working as you expected, you can go to the Black chat bubble once you're logged in and ask our support for help, or share it with hello@mentimeter.com. And considering this was the basic webinar, so now all of you have gotten like a first introduction to Mentimeter and can start trying it out. I really recommend joining our advanced webinar, which will be a colleague of mine hosting, and which will be the 9th of November. So then you could really take this opportunity to try out different question types, the audience pace, the quiz, and then you can level up to the next level on the 9th of November. And we do also have something called Mentimeter Academy. So that is Mentimeter certificate courses that you can take in your own time as well. So you have, for example, the Getting Started. You have a progress in Mentimeter, so like the next one. But it's also a combination of micro courses as well. So there could be, for example, service in Mentimeter. It could be how to utilize pin on image, so like shorter lessons as well. Good. But then we have 5 more minutes. So then I think it's time for some questions. So I can see here that I have 13 questions now. So I can either click here, or I could also click on the keyboard letter Q as well. Let's see, how can you integrate this in your PowerPoint? Super good question. So there are 2 different ways. I will just click escape to show you. So one way you can do is that you can import your PowerPoint presentation into the Mentimeter presentation. That you will do by clicking import and then drag and drop in the presentation, either if it's a PowerPoint presentation or if it's a PDF, for example. Another thing we have is that we have a PowerPoint plugin. So that will allow you to log into your PowerPoint presentation, add a Mentimeter add-in, and then log into your Mentimeter presentation and account there, and then directly add questions in your PowerPoint. So that is called like a Mentimeter add-in. And depending on what university you're working with, please ask them if that one is available, because it needs to be allowed by the IT, so it's enabled for you to use. And I know a few universities that are not able to use it. However, please, go to, if you have like a learning platform, like an internet page about Mentimeter, and see if you could connect with a stakeholder to ask if they can, if you can use the PowerPoint. Because that way you can like seamlessly use PowerPoint and then together with Mentimeter. Let's see. If you have a presentation built in PowerPoint, not within Menti, how do you integrate? Exactly, PowerPoint add-in, same one. And we can see 14 thumbs up. So that means that a lot of you is wondering how you use it with PowerPoint. But yes, have a look, ask about the same. Are the pics all right regarding copyright? Yes, I know that I have received this question before, and we have a help article or like an article about this. So they are allowed to be used in like teaching setting. So that is correct. Can you have the real-time results hidden by default until you're ready for the students to see them? Great question. And yes, you can do that. So I will do escape, which will bring me back to the edit view again. And then if I go to the design, I think it is, let's see, is it content? Here we see. There it is. Exactly. So if you go to the specific question type that you have, you go to interactivity and then slide setting, and then you have this one, show result. So then when you go to that question, those will be hidden, and then you can reveal the answers once you want to have it. So that is a super way, a very good way if you don't want to be clicking on the keyboard letter H every time, that you want to feel comfortable, like assured that they will be hidden at the start. Good. Let's see. I would like to use Menti for a practice test. Is it possible to publish the questions and correct answer later? Let's see if I understood the question. So what you could do is that you could have the presentation, you create the presentation with the questions and so forth. Then you swap it to audience space, and then you send it out to the participants or the students. They will then just join the presentation. So they will only see the questions and then answer the questions, but they will not see any results. So then you could gather votes from like the students. And then once you have gathered the votes, then you can, when you feel comfortable, then you could click on the, let's see, the share button, and then presentation sharing, and share the live result. So that will allow you to collect answers, but they will not see the results. And then you can choose when you want to share it. If I understood your question correctly, I hope I did. Otherwise, please send it in again. Good. I can see though that the time is running out. So it is 5 o'clock, and yeah, we have a few questions, but I think we will find a way of how to answer those. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for joining this webinar together with us. And yeah, I hope you learned something new. And one more highlight to please join the next advanced webinar that we have in November as well. But I will click on stop sharing here, so then I can see Astra again. Good. So yeah, thank you so much everyone, and have a great Wednesday evening, or wherever you are. Maybe there's someone all over the world, but at least in Sweden it's the evening soon.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining, and yeah, we hope to see you in November for the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.